Yo, this is Molecular. Welcome to the new video setup here on YouTube. So on this first video, we'll be going about how to make your drums sound better, be fatter, louder, and with much more harmonic rich content. This will be the new setup for the upcoming videos. I have loads of things planned for here on YouTube. And also, if you're looking for more content and to grab and have access to all of the files inside all of the projects that you see here on YouTube, make sure you check out my Patreon page, where I will be dropping all of the project files and all of the samples, and everything will be there. To start off the video, I'll be showing you how the drums here sound. I'd say they sound pretty good already, but there's a few minor improvements to do that all of these three techniques together do make your sound much more different and better. So the first thing that we'll be looking at is a top end layer or a white noise layer or a hat layer, basically something to fill up the top end. And then we'll be looking into the low end. So I see a lot of producers with snares that or even kicks, but mostly snares that's to simulate something like a cymbal hitting or a hat hitting with the kick and with the snare. I'm gonna use it in envelope mode, but you can use it in trigger mode. So every time you trigger a different note, it's always gonna trigger the LFO. I'm gonna use it in envelope mode because I'm just playing one single note and make it 1 bar long, so it fits with the notes that you're using, and then just have it hit on every single hit. So if this is 1 bar, then this is gonna be kick, snare, hat, and snare. Starting to look like a cymbal now. Okay, I'm just gonna high pass it a little bit. Make sure you engage the filter for the noise. And now add some distortion to increase the harmonic content of the highs. And then add another filter to make sure you high pass those frequencies that you generate here again. And what you can do now, assign that LFO to the cutoff filter a bit, just to give it some movement. And there we go. We can now play it with the other elements to see if it does any difference. There we go. And now for the second part, which is the low end layer. If we look at the snare here, it's a pretty good sounding snare. It sounds very cool, but it is lacking that area here. It has a little bit, but it's not too much. So that 100 to 200 area is really lacking. So what I did is I grabbed an acoustic snare, and I'm just gonna open it here. Disable the EQ. I grabbed an acoustic real snare. Then what I did was EQ'd it, because I just want that area around there. And then I just made it shorter with the fades and decreased the volume to mix it with the main snare here. It's also important to notice that even though you're cutting this area, which is the area where most transients are pronounced on the snare, there can be some masking even if you don't fade in. So what I'm doing is I'm fading in so that there's nothing on the way of the transient, to make sure that the transient from our main layer here on the snare still cuts through the mix. So now let's see what it does. Now our snare has that body. Even if you don't think that this is a big difference, this will help your snare cut through the mix. And for the last final step, we have a saturator here and a soft clipper. So I'm going to deactivate the soft clipper here, and I'll show you that in a second. What I'm doing with the saturator is using the medium curve just to have a little bit of saturation, just a little bit of drive and just a little bit of dry wet. And this is how it sounds 100% wet. A little bit too much when I engage the soft clipper. So I'm just using a little bit of that wet sound. And that already pulls up all of the sounds in the mix. And now after that, I'm using the newfangled audio soft clipper. So nothing goes higher than 0. And I'm just doing a little bit of drive, shaping a little bit of the curve. And there it is. So those are my tips on how to make your drums stand out and how to make them sound big and how to make them sound much better, even when you think that your drums already sound good, because the original ones did sound good, but there is always something else that you can try and do and to make it work better. So that's it. If you want access to the project file and all of the samples here to grab this and use this in your own drum sounds, make sure to check out the link in the description for the Patreon page, and I'll catch you there. Peace.